Coming across the well deck by the bridge front, we pass over two starboard bollards, across the starboard rail and down the side of the ship. Here, extending down to near the waterline, a dramatic 30-foot hole, strongly believed to have possibly been caused by an internal explosion, our expedition found. No long slit, no sheared rivets, no sprung plates. Here, in the most dramatic and revealing views, inside the bowels of the once mighty Titanic, we witness an area extending almost 3 decks down into the ship. This area is extremely difficult to pinpoint precisely, although it has been confirmed by naval architects at Holland and Wolff, builders of the Titanic, after examining the original blueprints of the ship, to be similar to an area above a reserve coal bunker. That bunker would lie at the bottom of the ladder, plainly in view. The exposed decks may have contained the Titanic's mailboat. This, at least, is the best guess of the naval architects who admit something strange happened here. But these pictures alone do not provide enough information for positive conclusions. We now have solid evidence that Captain Smith knew about the coal fire from the time the Titanic left Belfast. He signed a false statement denying this knowledge in Southampton and possibly in Cherbourg and Queenstown. This long, smoldering fire now raises the question of a possible explosion at the time of impact with the iceberg, possibly from accumulated combustion gases set off by a spark from electrical wiring broken when the bulkhead was pierced, possibly from coal dust or from steam when cold water hit the red-hot coals in the bunker. We have two gentlemen with us in Paris tonight who have special knowledge which may help to evaluate this new and critical evidence. First, Mr. William Dybell, a former naval officer, engineer, and Seattle, Washington businessman, who heard his father tell a very unusual story about the Titanic as he returned from France after World War I. Mr. Dybell, nice to have you here.
Thank you.
Tell me, what did you hear your father say, Mr. Dybell?
Well, he claimed that the Titanic, in fact, never struck an iceberg. And in fact, she sank as a result of an explosion that developed from a fire in a coal bunker that had been burning from prior to when the ship sailed from Southampton. Now, he was a sergeant in the Army in World War I and heard this story firsthand from a crewman on the U.S. troop ship SS Mercury. This man claimed to have been a surviving stoker of the Titanic. And over the course of the journey back to the United States, my father spent a lot of time playing cards with this man, and this man insisted that the story of the iceberg having been struck was to conceal the real cause of the disaster. And we have always speculated that this possible cover-up was for insurance purposes.
Well, thank you, Mr. Dybell, for that story. And thank you for the information for coming on our program.
Thank you.
Now we have Dr. Robert Essenhigh, professor of mechanical engineering at Ohio State University, and a noted expert on steam and coal gas explosions. Dr. Essenhigh, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, you've had an opportunity to consider this new evidence. Was the hole caused by the coal fire, do you think?
No, I don't think so. There are two major reasons against this. If you look at the model, the bunker that could have produced the gases is just forward of this first funnel. Mm-hmm. You can see where the hole is, it's marked on the model, and they're just out of line. They don't coincide. Now, the second reason is that if those gases were there and they did explode, then there are chutes there for filling the bunker. They have light tops. The explosion would simply go up the chutes, blow off the tops, and they would never be able to blow out those plates. But I think one of the interesting things is that this bunker fire may have a bigger bearing on the whole accident than just may appear from this. There were something like 400 or 500 tons of coal left in the bunker at the time that it sank. The fire had apparently been burning all the time, and I did a calculation and reached the conclusion that after about 4 or 5 days, that fire would be starting to accelerate. If the firemen fighting it thought at that time that it was getting out of control, and they reported this to the captain, it would only be necessary for him to believe it was getting out of control, and he would at that time have two problems. He would have the information that there was ice ahead, and he would also have the information about the fire escaping. So then he has a quandary. If he reduces speed to avoid the ice, then he could run the risk of a major fire coming out on the ship and burning the ship. If, on the other hand, he maintains his speed, obviously he has the risk of striking an iceberg. And that is quite a quandary.
Yes, it is. Well, thank you, Dr. Essen. I appreciate you coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, scientists may not know all the reasons for this 30-foot hole for years. Its causes, its effects on the sinking will be the subject of lively controversy for a long time to come. Not until the French developed Nautil, the world's most advanced deep-diving sub, was this vital new evidence of the Titanic's 30-foot wound discovered. No previous expedition revealed this critical new information. In a moment, we'll be seeing this miracle machine, Nautil. This sparkling new center for science and industry here in La Villette section of Paris is the city's pride and joy, and rightfully so. This spectacular building, one of many which forms an entire cultural center, features exhibitions which encourage visitors to become participants in the very latest scientific and technical developments. There are no don't touch signs here. Most displays provide a hands-on experience for the visitor. Here at La Villette, the visitor sees a full-scale model of Nautil and begins to appreciate the triumph of its engineering. As visitors lift their eyes, they're reminded that inner space technology is just as complex as that required to reach the stars. Now, we're about to take you along as the team from Ifremer returns again to the Titanic. We will see how the deep-diving submersible Nautil recovers priceless objects from the debris field, that area between the two broken parts of the ship. Here now, one of the most successful deep-sea expeditions of the century. The expedition back to the Titanic combined all the elements of truly great adventure. In charge of the expedition, the scientists of Ifremer, the French Institute for Research and Exploration of the Sea. The success of the expedition demonstrated a degree of expertise which pushed the frontiers of underwater technology to a level of excellence never before achieved. The expedition was headquartered on Ifremer's research vessel, Nadir. Among the experts aboard, Mission Commander Captain Cadenfleck, Submarine Captain Nargiole, world-renowned oceanographer Dr. Joseph McGinnis, underwater photographer Ralph White. Nearby Nadir is the big yellow ship Abe Supporter. It provides housing and supplies for the expedition, but most important, its crew has the dangerous job of launching and recovering the retrieval baskets. This vessel, the Nadir, is the mothership for what may appear to be just a little yellow submarine. It is named the Nautil, and in reality, it is the most sophisticated deep-diving submersible in the world today. Now 2 years old, it's only 25 feet long and 15 feet tall. but she took 7 years to design.